Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, within Warzone, we've got a lot of options for loadouts. Of course, we've got the meta weapons, we've got the underrated weapons, we've got the weapons that really aren't favored by many players. Listen, we don't talk too much about those, but today we are focusing on the weapons that are gonna fry, the weapons that are gonna delete players all day, every day. Today, we are breaking down the top 5 fastest killing weapons and their best loadouts as of right now. So if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new around here, we are officially on the road to 700,000 subs. So if you want to help us get one step closer, feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with pretty much everything going on in the world of Call of Duty. Now, first up, when it comes to the fastest killing weapons, I do want to say, just because a weapon has a great TTK doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be some insanely good weapon. In most cases, yeah, it's going to be pretty good to use, but in some other cases, it's extremely situational. Now, to be fair, most of today's classes I'd say are pretty viable in the meta. Some are actually on top of the meta. Some are just strictly TTK beasts, but not the most useful in the grand scheme of things. And of course, we'll break them down as we go through them. But first up, we've got the ASVAL, and typically I'll end up pairing this with a sniper. So overall, it's a pretty versatile class and also very fun to use. Now, the VAL is actually the fastest killing weapon in the game across all ranges. However, it obviously has a very small magazine, so really it's only viable in 1 or 2 gunfights at a time. So while you may be able to slay out in solos or duos, it's going to be pretty tough to take on a full trio or a quad team and by yourself and actually end up, finishing all those kills and getting out of that alive. And of course, its range and recoil aren't going to be fantastic when taking those into consideration either. So for being such a beast in the damage and TTK areas, it definitely has its drawbacks, which is why I mainly have to use this as a close range weapon, basically as a replacement to an SMG at this point, because that is really where it's going to take control and take over gunfights. But when you do use it like that, this thing is a spicy meatball. It's going to drop enemies left, right, and center. Honestly, a super fun weapon to use. Then, like I said, I do like to run a sniper with this just to cover those medium range and longer gunfights, since the VAL won't be doing really much at all for me there. Now here I've got the OSA barrel to start things off to increase that range. I've got the Ranger foregrip on there for better control, the 30 round mags since that is the largest option we've got there. I also run the rubberized grip tape for some better control, and then finally the Strelock or the Strelock stock for better control and better mobility as well. Then I would recommend running the car with this. That's pretty much my go-to sniper for Warzone. And on that, I've got the monolithic suppressor, the 27.6-inch barrel for better range, the tac laser for speed and stability, the sniper scope or the variable zoom scope, either is going to work out pretty well there. Then finally, the stippled grip tape to round things out. Now, as far as my perks and equipment go, this is the same on every single class today. And as always, I'm rolling with EOD, Overkill, and Amped, but I do always try and grab Ghost through a second loadout. Then I've got the Semtex and the heartbeat sensor on there too. Now, next up, another weapon that is going to melt everyone is that of the FFAR. This is another weapon that I'll usually pair with a sniper just to ensure that I guess I've got some options if I'm trying to engage a fight at longer ranges, because the FFAR definitely is going to be harder to use in those really long range fights. Its recoil is just going to make it a bit too hard to stay on target there. But up close and even in some medium range fights, you can absolutely destroy players with it because it's got that faster rate of fire and pretty good damage. And honestly, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The FFAR is essentially the best SMG in the game, despite it obviously not being an SMG, because you can use it like one and it's going to be a great choice no matter what. Now, you don't have the full-on mobility that you'd have with something like an MP5 or an MP7, but you do have better damage, better range, and the ability to compete with close-range weapons like those, and for that, the FFAR is quickly becoming one of my new favorite weapons to use. Now here I've got the Agency Suppressor for some better range, the Task Force Barrel because it does actually kind of work here, the Bruiser Grip for that busted control increase, the Salvo 50 round fast mag, then finally the SAS Combat Stock for a really nice mobility boost. Then the car setup here is the same one as I've got before. Then moving on into the next class, this one is all about the CR56 AMAX, what I would consider to be the best gun in the game right now, and in turn, the best assault rifle as well. And that's largely because its TTK is so nice across any and all ranges. Now yes, it's got some pretty beefy recoil to it. That's something you definitely have to work past to stay on target, especially at those longer ranges. But once you can get that recoil pattern down, this thing is going to knock enemy after enemy after enemy in really any kind of gunfight. To me, it feels like it's the most consistent rifle we've got, and usually I'm going to pair this with an SMG to give me some coverage in those close range fights, just because the AMAX's mobility may hurt it some there. But together, the AMAX with a strong sub is by far one of the best, if not the best, aggressive class in the game. So on the AMAX, I've got the monolithic suppressor, the Zodiac barrel for better range and control, the Commando foregrip for better control, the 45 round mags, then also the VOK 3x optic. Pretty much the normal standard setup there now. And then to complement that, I've been running the MAC 10 a lot. The MP5s are both nice choices too, for what it's worth. But on the MAC 10 here, I've got the agency suppressor, the Ranger barrel for better velocity, the field agent grip for better control, the 53 round fast mag, and then finally the combat stock for better mobility as well. Now, next up, we're looking into the FAL, which actually is a lot better than I think most people think it is. Obviously, at one point, the FAL was the best rushing weapon in the game. Its close range damage was absolutely absurd. It was dominating Warzone in the past as the #1 weapon in the game. But of course, since then, it has been nerfed, and that nerf, I feel like, turned a lot of people away. That said, the TTK on the FAL up close, at a medium range, and even long range is incredibly consistent and surprisingly consistent, honestly. And if you can hit your shots, not many weapons can actually beat out the FAL one-on-one. Of course, though, it is semi-auto, so that's going to increase that skill gap a bit, so this definitely is not going to be everyone's cup of tea per se. And again, I'd probably pair this one with a sniper just because I'm trying to mainly use this in those close and medium range fights, so my car setup would come into play once again. But on the FAL, I've got the monolithic suppressor, surprise, surprise, the marksman barrel for better range and control, the 30 round mags for a little extra ammo, sleight of hand for a pretty fast reload, then also the close quarters stock for some better mobility. Then finally, we've got the one gun that I really don't think plays into the meta all that much, but because of its incredibly fast TTK, we of course have to talk about it in this video, and that is the Fennec SMG. This thing is, not gonna lie, kind of trash at any kind of decent range, but in those close range fights, it is going to erase people. I mean, the fire rate here is nuts, but the recoil really is not bad whatsoever. The mobility is pretty good, and the TTK is as spicy as can be. Unfortunately, though, past close range fights, the velocity falls off in a pretty harsh way, so it's almost completely obsolete outside of those CQB fights. But here I've got the deadfall barrel, which is pretty much like the monolithic integral suppressor, super useful attachment, honestly. I've got the Merc foregrip for better accuracy and control, the 40 round drums, the Stippy Grippy, then also sleight of hand since you're going to be reloading quite a bit. And normally I'd pair this with an assault rifle like the AMAX or the M4 or the Grau. Other rifles like that can all be pretty useful there. Also, I know JGod has a stat sheet out there with the TTKs of, I believe, most of the primaries over range. So if I can find that, I'll be sure to link that down below. That can actually give you a pretty good idea of how these weapons compare to others out there in a more stat-based way, I guess. But yeah, there you have it. With all of that being said, those are the fastest killing weapons we currently have here in Warzone and the best setups for them. And that's going to wrap things up for today. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, setups, tips, and pretty much everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code WhosImmortal for a discount on all Scuff, G Fuel, and Control Freak products, and the links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.